Two-day Think 20 conference on global governance with life values and well-being gets underway in Bhopal. Conference inaugurated by Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan focuses on fostering cooperation in framework, finance and technology. Egyptian ambassador to India, while Mohammad Awad Hamid says Egypt will play an important role as a guest country under India's G20 presidency by raising challenges facing developing economies. The first G20 Infrastructure Working Group meeting under the G20 India presidency started today in Pune. Over 2 days, the forum will bring together the Infrastructure Working Group member countries, guest countries and international organizations invited by India to discuss the 2023 infrastructure agenda. The meeting is hosted by the Department of Economic Affairs and the Ministry of Finance of the Government of India. Australia and Brazil are the co-chairs. Here's what happened on day one of the G20 Infrastructure Working Group meeting in Pune.
The first session of the G20 Infrastructure Working Group meeting in Pune opened by the Union Minister of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Narayan Rane. In his address, Rane talked about the prospect of population explosion in the years to come and called for global cooperation to make cities future ready to meet the growing demand.
अनुमान बताते हैं कि वर्ष 2045 तक शहरों में रहने वाले लोगों की संख्या 1.5 गुना बढ़ जाएगी। आने वाले 2 दशकों में जैसे जैसे शहरी आबादी बढ़ेगी, शहरों को अनुपातिक रूप से बढ़ती मांग को पूरा करने के लिए तैयार रहना होगा। हालांकि यह अकेले सरकारों द्वारा नहीं किया जा सकता है।
He also stressed on the need to transform cities to make them economic growth centers.
शहरों की और अधिक योग्य बनाना है। तदनुसार 2023 के अवसंरचना के एजेंडे की प्रमुख प्राथमिकता भावी शहरों का वित्त पोषण है। समावेशी, तन्मय और सतत इसमें भविष्य के लिए शहरी अवसंरचना के साथ शहरों को विकास के आर्थिक केंद्र बनाने के विभिन्न पहलुओं पर चर्चा की जाएगी।
The G20 Infrastructure Working Group deliberates on various aspects of infrastructure investments, such as developing infrastructure as an asset class, promoting quality infrastructure investment, and identifying innovative instruments for mobilizing financial resources for infrastructure investment. The outcomes of the Infrastructure Working Group feed into the G20 finance track priorities and promote infrastructure development. The Indian G20 presidency's theme of One Earth, One Family, One Future sets the tone for the 2023 infrastructure agenda. The theme underlines the message of equitable growth and aptly ties up with the central agenda of the discussions, which is building resilient, inclusive and sustainable urban infrastructure. Financing cities of tomorrow, inclusive, resilient and sustainable, is a key focus area of the meeting. Deliberations took place on various facets of making cities economic centers of growth, financing urban infrastructure, building future-ready urban infrastructure, directing fiscal investments for unlocking private financing for energy-efficient and environmentally sustainable infrastructure and mitigating social imbalances. On the sidelines, Pune meeting was complemented by a high-level workshop on financing of cities of tomorrow. The workshop discussed relevant themes pertaining to technical and managerial capacity needs to build the cities of tomorrow, investors' considerations in increasing private financing, and the financial capacity needs of cities of tomorrow. The G20 meeting was preceded by a number of Jan Bhagidari initiatives by the Pune Municipal Corporation and other Pune city stakeholders, including lecturers on G20, seminar on making cities future ready and importance of urban development. Its aim was to involve people from all walks of life in the discussions happening around the G20 meeting. During India's G20 presidency, the G20 Infrastructure Working Group will be used as a forum to discuss the challenges that cities face and opportunities that cities will bring in the near future and chart out a course that makes cities more livable. With inputs from Shama Mishra and Meghna Dev, Bureau Report, DD India.
Along with the sessions of deliberations of G20 Infrastructure Working Group, there was a high-level workshop for the delegates on the topic of financing for the cities of tomorrow. The workshop was co-organized by the Asian Development Bank in support of the G20 presidency under India. Ashok Lavasa, Vice President for Private Sector Operations and Public-Private Partnerships of ADB, and Piyush Kumar, Additional Secretary, Department of Commerce, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, addressed the inaugural session. A discussion on needs of technical and managerial capacity to build the infrastructure for cities of tomorrow was done. Dr. Banadia Janadradevi, who is Secretary General of United Cities and Local Governments Asia Pacific, Ivan Rossignol, Senior Advisor, Strategy and Economic Development, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and Thomas Meyer, CEO, Infrastructure and Finance Advisory, were the speakers who deliberated on the topic. India is co-chairing the two-day G20 Infrastructure Working Group meeting along with Australia and Brazil as the co-chairs. DD India spoke to Antonio Freitas, co-chair of the G20 Infrastructure Working Group of Brazil. He spoke on India's G20 presidency and agenda of the working group meeting. Brazil will take over the presidency of G20 from India after India's term comes to an end.
The delegates of the G20 Infrastructure Working Group have been welcomed by the Indian style, Indian traditional style, and we have the co-chair, Brazil, Antonio Freitas with us. Sir, you are wearing this beautiful, traditional, the shawl and also the feta. How are you feeling about this?
Yes, we are delighted by the reception by the Indian government and the Indian people. It's pretty much an honor for ourselves. I come from Brazil, which is a very distant country, but we have lots of similarities and we have a good relation with China. So it's wonderful to be here and to receive such a nice reception.
India is, leading, and India is doing the presidency of G20. How do you see that?
India is a great country, one of the greatest countries on earth, so it's only natural that it can assume this leadership role in the G20, and we are very comfortable under the orientation of the Indian government and with the reception by the Indian people.
So, this particular meeting is co-chaired by Brazil and Australia. How do you see the agenda of this meeting, and how we are definitely talking about the fruitful discussions that would be done today and tomorrow. So how do you see the agenda helping the whole world?
Yeah, the agenda is fundamental for our future because it mostly relates with cities, financing development for cities, new infrastructures, new technologies, sustainable cities that can tackle climate change and that can make people's lives better. So it's really central to our future.
Lastly, how can India benefit from your country as co-chair, and how can Brazil benefit from India as co-chair?
India and Brazil traditionally have great relations. We are members of several groups that we share, the BRICS and the India, Brazil, Africa do Sul. So we have strong cooperation in several fields, and the G20 is another good place for us to exchange ideas and exchange successful policies for our peoples and for the rest of the countries also that participate at those initiatives.
All right, thank you very much for talking to us, sir. So that was Antonio, the co-chair of Brazil. He mentioned how this particular agenda will definitely help not just India, not just the member countries, but the entire world. With camera person Rohan Gowli, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Pune, Maharashtra.
And joining us for Perspective now is Professor Dheeraj Sharma. He is Director IIM Rohtak. Professor Sharma, welcome to India at G20. At the outset, I want to ask you whether you have in your mind any particular model that G20 countries under India's G20 presidency can take up as an example for building resilient, inclusive and green cities for tomorrow, or do you think that each country will need to have its own local flavor going forward?
Well, you see, India, from a carbon footprint standpoint, is a role model because still a lot of Indian ways demonstrate how we can live in coherence with the environment, in coherence with the climate. And climate tech, I believe, is it's going to be one of the biggest driving forces from Indian standpoint. It's a combination of, how to preserve climate, how to save us from environmental changes using technology. Why India can be the hub, if not, I would say a role model at the present time, it definitely will be a hub. It is because India
has shown the world how we can manage with lesser energy, we can have growth with lesser energy, we can lead the way in terms of climate change. Let me illustrate that with the commitment from the highest level. Prime Minister of India has given a commitment that by 2070, India is expected to be carbon neutral, which means that we will be focusing greatly on renewable energy and also in terms of using lesser energy and more energy efficient devices. United States consumes about 1/3 of the global energy. India is probably 1/10 of that number in terms of consumption of energy. And imagine our population is about 5 times that of United States. So therefore, in order to grow our standards of living, infrastructural investment is going to be very, very important. But when we are investing in the infrastructure, if we invest in the eco-friendly infrastructure, which means carbon neutral buildings, greenhouse effect using buildings, using buildings that conserve and save electricity, and also having a concurrence of multiple usage, which means the wind energy, the solar energy, and I would go even one step further. Even a combination of nuclear energy would allow us to show the world that how we can be away from our great dependence on the non-renewable sources of energy, primarily which is the fossil fuels.
Right. Is building urban infrastructure a theme which requires collective effort from the states, from the urban local bodies, as well as from the citizens? Because in the run-up to the infrastructure working group meeting, we saw several Jan Bhagidari initiatives. There were seminars, there were people who were asked about how they would like the infrastructure to be, what their suggestions should be. Under the Prime Minister Gati Shakti master plan, we are also seeing how states are resorting to digital mapping of various data. There are several layers of data relating to land records, forest, wildlife that they are mapping for understanding what kind of physical and digital infrastructure do they need going forward. So do you see this as a collective exercise in India, and is that a template that the world could perhaps look at, including several G20 countries?
Well, in terms of policy, I think we've done a great job. I think the world will emulate us. Gati Shakti's great model. It could be emulated, but at the end of the day, it's a collective effort. The chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So it's a central government, it's a state government, it's a district administration, the urban local bodies, and finally the attitudes of the people. Individual attitudes towards creating waste, individual attitudes towards energy saving, individual attitude towards using the traditional Indian way of conservation of water is going to be the driving factor. So great cities, smart cities cannot be built without a concurrence between all these 5 levels, which means the government of India can show direction, can give policy, can give resources, but then the states would have to come into play, work in consonance with the central government, and the urban local bodies would have to then execute it. And finally, the individuals will have to. So therefore, the Jan Bhagidari, as the Honorable Prime Minister says, it is extremely important. We cannot accomplish this without the Jan Bhagidari.
And how do you finance cities of tomorrow? Because there are budgetary provisions by the centre, by the state governments. There's a World Bank report that talks about how ULBs of several big cities in India are tapping the surplus revenues. So how do you further tap private sector revenue? How do you leverage private investment into urban infrastructure? And how do we make the financial model of ULBs more sustainable going forward?
Well, let me share with you, there used to be one of the largest companies in the United States in 1990s. Duncan Holdings was a waste management company. We really do not have a multi-billion-dollar waste management company. That itself is a demonstrable evidence that there's an opportunity which the private sector needs to take advantage and get into waste management business and develop multi-billion-dollar enterprises. Number 2, I think the financing of the cities has to be twofold. I mean, of course, debt finance is one of the easiest ways that you do borrowings. But I think the more important way of funding this would be through public, which means creation of maybe public borrowing, maybe creation of bonds, debentures, which are primarily driven by the utilization of services by the people. For instance, we have been generating significant revenue in terms of toll taxes. Roads are financed, roads are maintained vis-a-vis utilization through tolls, and people have adapted to that mechanism. People today appreciate having great roads in India. No person of a sane mind in India would say that Indian road conditions have not improved in the last 7-8 years. They have done very well. And people are paying for it, so which itself is a demonstrable evidence that people are willing to pay for better services. So consequently, better quality of water, better quality of electricity, which means one of the biggest loopholes, let me illustrate, that states like Bihar and Jharkhand, the electricity line losses can be anywhere between 40 to 50%. Even the best performing states like Gujarat and maybe Haryana, the line losses still remain between 9 to 10, maybe 9, 12, 13%. They're still in very late single digit or in 2 digits in one of the best performing states. So all those are opportunities for us to do better in terms of financing those cities. So why Gujarat and Maharashtra tend to have uninterrupted electricity in the cities? It is because they have a very good transmission system. And the transmission is privatized, by the way. The private players come into transmission and revenue collection, and they are making it happen. So I believe that private sector must find opportunities there, and there are opportunities. And it is an opportunity to create many multi-billion-dollar organizations.
In 30 seconds, can you summarize actionable points that you would like to see implemented under India's G20 presidency for making cities future-ready?
I think, first of all, the urban local bodies need to be more accountable. I think the role of the mayors will become very, very important, which means administrative reforms. Number two, public-private partnership in offering municipality services, which means everything from road cleaning, everything from water, sanitation. And finally, number three, I believe it has to be, you have to develop a really out-of-the-box thinking model where it could be borrowing at the district level or the city level, state level and central level, a combination of all of them to fund some of the schemes and making them happen.
Right. Thank you, Professor Sharma, for joining us with your views and telling us at the end the 3 actionable points that you would like to see implemented under India's G20 presidency for building world-class urban infrastructure across cities, across the G20 countries, and maybe the low and middle income countries as well that India has invited as guest countries. Let's move on. India is known for its hospitality, and with the G20 presidency, delegates from member countries, invited countries and institutions got an opportunity to experience the same. There was a mega welcome ceremony for the delegates at the Pune University. A group of drummers welcomed them. They were greeted with traditional feta or the turban along with a shawl. A tree plantation activity was also carried out at the university. DD India spoke to the delegates about the warm reception they got in India. They also spoke on the agenda of the infrastructure working group meeting. Take a listen.
I'm very impressed, positively impressed about the hospitality. It's been great. Since the airport, we've been warmly welcomed. And it's just been great. We had a taste of the Indian culture, I would say. Even if we're staying for a few days, it has been very great and very warm welcome. So I'm very happy to be here.
India has been sort of pushing on very critical issues, especially around urban environments. And I think for India, but for the rest of the world, that's really one of the key challenge. How to sort of manage the urban growth in a sort of sustainable, resilient, and inclusive way. And I think it's a very important topic for the group. So glad that India sort of pushed that.
Maharashtra was showcased on the sidelines of the G20 Infrastructure Working Group meeting in Pune. An exhibition showcased the state's tourist attractions, Pune-based startups, art, culture and more. Our correspondent Meghna Dev brings us this report from Pune.
The first infrastructure working group meeting has commenced in Pune, and not only the meeting, the G20 Infrastructure Working Group meeting, but also there are a number of exhibits showcasing Maharashtra, its culture and much more is here at the meeting as well.
Basically, this is a metaverse creation, and as a very new term, everybody is trying to get into it. What we are creating is Bharatverse, Bharat ka metaverse, and in that we have captured currently what we are showcasing here is a 3D of the Kelkar Museum of Pune.
Lovely. So that's what, metaverse, definitely, getting people to know the heritage of Pune while they are here at the meeting.
Maharashtra Tourism have their own resorts also at 29 places.
Also, when we're talking about the industrial development, what is the story that you are telling here to the...
We have 289 industrial areas in MIDC. MIDC is a nodal agency, state government nodal agency, which provide the industrial land to investors, those who want to invest in Maharashtra. The people are asking about the speciality of the paper, the life of the paper, because this is a 100% recyclable and sustainable paper.
Mostly we are showcasing the bamboo products, from furniture to tabletop articles, from office articles to musical articles, gift articles, as well as jewelries. The rakhis also made from the bamboos.
So we also see worldly art here. What is that, the delegates have been asking you, the kind of interest, and what are you telling them? Because this is all natural art.
Yes, the Worli art, the Worli tribe are indigenous to Maharashtra. So the delegates usually they know Bombay very well. So I've told them that these are the indigenous tribe from Bombay, and I've told them that these paintings are made from rice paste, and that.
And they're depicting nature. So the basic theme is all the things that the Worli art depicts has been inspired by nature and natural things.
As we know, the jawar and bajra ragi are more nutritious in our diets, so we follow that one. So they are more interested to minimize their lifestyle disorders. There are more happens now.
We'll also take you to one of the startups based in Pune. So we'll talk more on that. Ma'am, can you please tell us what are the reactions that you are getting from the people who are coming here, the delegates who are coming here, showcasing one of the startups from Pune?
In fact, they are very excited, and for them it is something very new. So the reaction, Russia and South Africa, they are already into this ancient grain, but they do not know the value addition. So the best part is Pune, and being a Pune startup, and Maharashtra, this is something innovative value addition to the millets, because for them it is not for a human consumption. So this is something a new technology driven, and that is something what we are looking forward, that India or Maharashtra or Pune being the new eye opener for the world to this ancient grain.
Right. Showcasing millets at this International Year of Millets while we celebrate Pune is at this meeting is definitely showcasing what more value addition can be done to millets so that it is widely accepted and more easily consumed by people. With camera person Kumar Datta, this is Meghna Dev for DD India from Pune.
President of Egypt would be the chief guest at the Republic Day celebrations in Delhi. On this occasion, a panel discussion on India-Egypt ties and changing global order was held at Sapru House in Delhi. India sees this visit as a very important step towards further strengthening the bilateral ties.
Egypt is a very important player in the Arab world, not only in Arab world but in Africa. So our relationship also goes way back, both in the historical context as well as in the modern context. So we are looking forward to this visit. President Sisi would have bilateral engagement with our Prime Minister, and also have discussions on the bilateral and regional and international issues. He will also have a business meet and then participate as chief guest in the Republic Day celebrations.
Importantly, as G20 president, in fact, under India's G20 presidency, Egypt said that it will be taking up issues which are being faced as challenges by the developing nations. The two-day G20 Think 20 conference on global governance with life values and well-being began in Bhopal from today. The two-day conference was inaugurated by Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan. The conference is focusing on fostering cooperation in framework, finance and technology. Nearly 300 delegates from about 44 countries are taking part in the summit. Discussions took place on several global issues, including the economy. Think 20 is one of the engagement groups of G20 and serves as the Ideas Bank under India's G20 presidency. The first health working group meeting under G20 India presidency will be held from 18th to 20th January in Thiruvananthapuram, the capital of Kerala. India's G20 presidency will focus on three main priorities: health emergencies prevention, preparedness and response being one, with focus on One Health and AMR or antimicrobial resistance. Strengthening cooperation in pharmaceutical sector with focus on access and availability to a safe, effective quality and affordable medical countermeasures of vaccines, therapeutics and diagnostics, and digital health innovations and solutions to aid universal health coverage and improve healthcare service delivery. The health track of the G20 India presidency will comprise 4 health working group meetings and 1 health ministerial meeting. The meetings will be held in different locations across the country, including Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, Goa, Hyderabad in Telangana and Gandhinagar in Gujarat, highlighting Prime Minister's call to action to showcase India's rich and diverse cultures. The theme unveiled by a Prime Minister, One Earth, One Family, One Future for India's G20 presidency, captures India's philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It is a clarion call to the world to collectively work towards building a healthier post-pandemic world. And with that, we come to the close of this edition of India at G20. Thanks for watching.